Hey there everyone, Mazarok here, and today I'm doing my beginner's guide to Protection Warrior. So as of right now, recording this, we're a couple of days away from Dragonflight launch, and if anything major is going to change, I'm going to redo the video and post it again as Dragonflight goes on into the different patches and all that fun stuff, just to make sure that it is always up to date. And I'll be unlisting this video if, any major changes occur. Today we're going to be building an all-around general purpose build, and we're going to be doing it simultaneously with the class and the spec tree, so I can talk about all of the synergies that kind of work with one another, because there are talent points that work with the class tree and spec tree and different points and abilities. So I want to make sure everything is kind of as crystal clear as possible, but I am also going to be doing Mythic Plus and raid guides as well, with talent builds and all that fun stuff, and I'm going to be glossing over some very basics, right? Like, what does shield block do? Because if you're doing Mythic Plus or you're doing an raid or anything like that, you should already know what your basic defensives are, what your main offensive abilities are and things like that. This is what this video is going to cover. Before we do get into it though, please like, comment, subscribe. You guys are destroying the now 6K goal for the end of the year. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, everybody, from the bottom of my heart. Let's keep this rolling on, and let's start Dragonflight off with a nice big bang. There is merch for sale. I got t-shirts. There's the I Want to Rage shirt, Blood DK, I'm the Healer Now. As well as I only do dungeons fully erect. If you're looking for those, you can get them at the Teespring link down below. Cannot do this video without my patrons. Thank you so much, everybody, for all of your support. If you wish to support me directly, there's a link down below. There's a add-on list for everything I like to use, weak aura packets and documents, all sorts of good stuff. There's living documents on all the tanks as well. I already have Protection Warrior pretty thoroughly covered, so lots of fun stuff there. As well, Twitch link down below if you wish to watch me stream, and a Discord link if you want to join a wonderful community full of people and come on by, hang out, talk, ask questions, all that fun stuff. So let's get into Protection Warrior. So when you start off at level 10, you do get a few basic abilities right off the bat that you get, and the one that we need to talk about the most, obviously, you get Slam, use it until level 10, or whenever you get Revenge. Whirlwind, really not great, but Shield Block. This is one of the best active mitigations in the game. So you raise your shield, you block all melee attacks against you for 8 seconds. These blocks can be critical blocks, increases your shield slam damage by 30% while active. So keeping shield block up is absolutely imperative to keep it up to as close to 100% uptime as you can. Very, very important. You get a couple of little abilities, but that's really not the worries there. Like, you get one charge of charge and things like that. So as we start building our tree, Ignore Pain is your second active mitigation, which is something you're going to want to keep up at all times. What it does is you fight through the pain, you ignore 55% of all damage taken, up to an X amount of damage prevented, and this can stack up to 2 times, and very, very important for you to do that. But as you're going through the tree, there is an ability. We're just going to kind of start here and go with this basic build. I will be posting this build in the description box down below as well. But one of the things you're going to want to do is grab Brutal Vitality. 30% of the damage you deal... Oh, my little... And it wants to be mean. Sorry about that. Brutal Vitality. 30% of the damage you deal adds to your active Ignore Pain. So this is actually much easier to keep Ignore Pain up and rolling, and allows you to spend less rage on having to kind of keep that buff up, right? And then as we went with this tree, we go down to Demoralizing Shout, Demo Shout, as I will refer to it from now on, which is a 25% DR applied to everybody within range, and it generates 30 rage. I think it's because I have Booming Voice on, actually. That's why. It doesn't remove what you had. So Booming Voice will do that, but we'll explain that in a bit. The base ability does not generate rage. That actually kind of confused me for a second. You want to grab Best Served Cold, which will increase your revenge damage. Devastator as well. This will improve your white swings, and it'll give you a 20% your white swings, your basic melee attack, a 20% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Shield Slam. Then you go over to Strategist. Devastate, Thunderclap, Revenge, and Execute all have a 30% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Shield Slam. So you have two ways to do it, with one of those abilities that I just mentioned, or with your white swing. So like when you see your Shield Slam proc, it'll be one of these two things. And then as we kind of continue on the right side, you grab Last Stand. Increases your maximum health by 30% for 15 seconds and instantly heals you for that amount. This is not bad on its own, but right at the bottom left of the Brutal Vitality talent here, I almost called it a Soul Conduit, we grab Bolster. Last Dance cooldown is reduced by 60 seconds, which is base a 3-minute cooldown, reduces it down to 2 minutes, and Last Dance, and it grants you shield blocked for the entire duration. So pressing Last Stand will give you 15 seconds of shield block. This is a really, really good button to press at the start of the pull. You can, without having to worry about getting yourself rage set up for shield block or things like that, or you can save it for when you know you're going to have a lapse in shield block. With that, we're going to go now over to the class tree. Like I said, we're going to bounce around a little bit because we have to talk about synergies as they kind of appear. Don't worry, we're going to be going back and forth. We start off with two stances. Defensive stance. A defensive stance that reduces all damage by 20% taken, and also decreases the damage you deal by 10%. So stance dancing is back. Battle stance increases your critical strike by 3% and reduces the duration of movement and pairing effects by 10%. The latter part of that, not as important. The increased critical strike is what's important, and you also don't have the damage reduction from defensive stance. In Mythic Plus, as you're kind of learning and you're getting into the rhythm of things, it's okay to stay in defensive stance the whole time. Learn how to tank first and then worry about maximizing your damage. But as you get more comfortable and you can learn to instinctualize when you're in trouble, when you're not in trouble, when you need defensive stance, when you don't, then you can start worrying about stance dancing, which is going to be a fun aspect to Prot Warrior as time goes on. Impending Victory is honestly my next default talent, is my first default talent point in here. Maybe not while leveling, you can go with War Machine or something else if you want, but Impending Victory, this replaces Victory Rush, gives you a 30% heal. It deals damage, but whatever. It heals you for 30% of your max HP, which is insanely good on a 25-second cooldown. This is a better Warlock Health Stone, and the cooldown still gets reset if you get the Killing Blow. Now, you have to get the Killing Blow on something, but with all the bleeds and stuff that we're dishing out, this happens a little bit more often than you may think, and is just a really good addition to our toolkit for self-sustain. You screw up your rotation, you don't have a defensive for something, you can plan around Imp Vic being really, really solid. War Machine, it will generate, your auto attacks will generate more rage. So increasing auto attack speed can be really, really good for your rage generation as we see going down forward. Leeching Strikes increase your leech by 5%. Excellent. Easy point to put in. Warriors love leech. We don't have a lot of ways to get ourselves back up, so the ways that we can improve that, very, very good. Rallying Cry, honestly a great 3-minute cooldown, always great to take. Grab Thunderclap. Thunderclap is just really fun, generates rage. Big lightning. Yeah, you get the lightning glyph. Looks really good. Spell Reflection. This is also an insanely OP ability when used correctly. This is in all throughout Shadowlands, I was using this to like negate major boss effects, deal damage back, and in some dungeons, it was actually dealing anywhere from 15 to 20% of my damage when I was doing it right. Upper Karazhan was a big one. This was easily 40% of my damage on Globgrog in Plaguefall. Lots of great things that you can spell reflect there, but this is part of the kit of learning how to know Prot Warrior, right? Prot Warrior is a very proactive tank. You want to know when you need to use your abilities, because if you're taking a 60% chunk of your max HP, then you're burning a defensive in panic mode. You've already screwed that up. right? You want to make sure that you're ahead of the game and you're using your defensives before you take those big hits. Heroic Leap, easy grab, and Furious Blows, your auto attack speed increases by 5%. Really solid all around. This is a kind of a good basic kind of setup and getting to, work through and getting going, right? After that, Stormbolt, this is great for any open world Mythic Plus content. 30-second cooldown, 4-second stun, all around fantastic option. Barbaric Training, this is one that is kind of contested at the moment. When you learn how to manage your rage, Barbaric Training will be really, really good. But if you're not comfortable and you feel like you just don't have enough rage for what you're doing, flex out of this until you are more comfortable with the rotation and the spec, and you're not just kind of spam burning all of your rage and you don't have rage for when you need it. Because your rage spenders are Revenge, Shield Block, and Ignore Pain. So if you're burning all of your rage on Revenge, you don't have enough for Shield Block and Ignore Pain, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So do note that as you're going on. Concussive Blows is actually secretly kind of really good. Your cooldown of Pummel is reduced by 1 second. There's so many times through Shadowlands where the cooldown of my kick was coming off and the bar was just going and I was just a hair away from being able to get it, causing big damage. But also successfully interrupting an enemy increases the damage you deal to them by 5% for 10 seconds. So this is a pretty easy pick in any environment where you're going to be kicking things. If there's ever like a raid or whatever where, hey, you have to kick things, I am going to opt this, and I'm going to tell my raid lead, hey, I want on that kick rotation, and I want first on that kick rotation because of this ability. It's an extra 5% damage for doing good things. Up next, Thunderclap is back, baby, with Blood and Thunder. So Thunderclap deals 10% increased damage. If you have Rend, Thunderclap affects 5 nearby targets with Rend. Now, Rend is over here on the spec tree in the middle, and this is an easy point to take. Hit Thunderclap, apply Rend. Rend deals great damage all around and will help with threat, and also synergizes well with Blood Surge. Your bleed effects have a chance to grant you rage. All around, solid pick. These three things combined are a really good 3-point synergy, but there's also more synergies with bleeds down the road. Going further into the class tree itself, Seismic Reverberation in any AoE environment in Mythic Plus, whatever. If Revenge hits 3 or more enemies, it hits them 1 additional time for 30% increased damage. This is a passive, does not increase rage spending at all. All around great ability to take, but in any single target environment, obviously a wasted point. Then you want to go with Double Time, because having more charges of charge feels good, and it reduces the cooldown of charge by 3 seconds as well. Up next, we have 6 points left to spend and kind of work things around. A couple flex options that you have is Concussive Blows, Barbaric Training, or Stormbolt. And some of the things that you can grab with this, if you need it, is Berserker Rage. Now, Berserker Rage is one of those abilities where if it's not needed, it's a dead button. It really is. But where it's needed, or where it's useful, it is insanely useful. It grants you immunity to fear, sap, and incap effects for 6 seconds. There are some fears. Temple of the Jade Serpent. This could be incredibly useful. If you think of Lower Karazhan, the maiden boss, she did an incap effect. In Iron Docks as well, the first boss, if nobody purged the shield quick enough, you could just use this and negate the mechanic. This is a really, really good tool where it is useful. Like, it's one of those things where if you need it, it's the best thing in the world. But if you don't need it, it's a dead button. So know kind of where you need to go. And then obviously, if it's a party-wide fear, if you so would, the Berserker Shout, applying that to your entire party in Mythic Plus could be really, really useful as well. But do note, take it where you need it, but this is probably not a default pick. Intervene as well, really good for, protecting a melee ally or getting out of dodge really quick as well. Let's say there's a ground effect that you absolutely need to leave and your movement speed's not going to cover it. Heroic Leaps down, intervene to your ranged target, boom, done. Easy peasy, you're out of the mix. The way that I have been working this as well is I go with Fast Footwork, Frothing Berserker, so Revenge has a 20% chance to immediately refund 50% of the rage spent. So if you have Barbaric Training, that will be 15 rage. If you don't, it'll be 10 rage because Revenge baseline is 20 rage, right? Then up next, I go with Crushing Force. Shield Slam deals an additional 10% damage and has a 10% increased critical strike chance. This I really like because it shores up one of our single target weaknesses in dungeons, especially because you're going to be prioritizing Shield Slam casts as they come up, because Shield Slam is going to be one of your, it's not even going to be, is one of your best single target abilities in the game outside of Execute. So this is a really, really solid ability, and it synergizes well with some points that we are going to take later. And then we still have 2 more points. Reinforced plates increases armor by 20% all around, insanely solid. And then you get a couple of other flex point options or things that you want to work with. Here with this build, we're going to have 1 point. You can easily put that into Pain and Gain. Whenever you take damage, you heal for 4.5% of your maximum health. This can only occur once every 10 seconds. Now, when I was testing this, with the way that I play Prout Warrior, this was equating to more overhealing than it was equating to like more actual healing. But in higher content that you go, the more valuable this passive is going to be. So if you feel like you just want that extra defensiveness, take Pain and Gain. That will be my base suggestion. There's also the Wrecking Throw. So far, I haven't seen any reason to take Shattering Throw yet, but there probably will be some stuff that comes up. But the difference between Wrecking Throw and Shattering Throw is Shattering Throw has a cast time, and it immediately pops any like magical immunities. So like Ice Block or things like that. Bubble. This is a lot more useful in PvP. In PvE, Wrecking Throw is probably going to be the play. 45-second cooldown instead of 3 minutes. And it deals the same Absorb Shield damage, but it doesn't pop those magical immunities. So there are some Absorb Shield mobs in certain dungeons where Wrecking Throw is definitely going to be a very valuable button for you to press. As well as Bounding Stride, which reduces the cooldown of Heroic Leap and gives you a movement boost. If you want to grab that, you can grab that as well. Like I said, you do have a couple of flex options with how you want to play and move around. And there's also Titanic Throw. This replaces Heroic Throw. Deals damage to 5 nearby targets, 3-second cooldown instead of just something that's spammable. I really like the spammable Heroic Throw. Like, that's something I like, because if I have to kite, I'll literally, Heroic Throw, it generates high threat, and I'll just Heroic Throw target after target after target to try and keep as much threat on it while I have to kite. It's a lot simpler. But you can get this button with Titanic Throw, but that's more of a playstyle thing. It generates high threat to all 5 enemies, but it doesn't let you target the ones that you need to necessarily, depending on the packs that you're pulling. So that's just something for you to keep in mind and work through. So we'll just put the point in Pain and Gain there to have the defensiveness as we're going on. Then we open up the capstone traits. Now, back to the spec tree. Challenging Shout. This is our AoE taunt. It is now down to a 2-minute cooldown from 4 minutes to Shadowlands. This is absolutely fantastic and really, really good and fun to press. Let's go. Going further down, Shield Wall, 3.5-minute cooldown, reduces all damage you take by 40% for 8 seconds. This is your big, I'm about to take a big hit button. Oh, crap. Plain thing. Plain and simple. Anger Management, it's coming back. Every 10 rage you spend reduces the remaining cooldown of Avatar and Shield Wall by 1 second. I know 1 second doesn't sound like a big number, but trust me, this adds up to a lot. With Barbaric Training, 1 Revenge cast is 3-second cooldown reduction on each of those. Really, really solid ability. And then Impenetrating Wall. Shield Slam generates 3 additional rage, all around solid option to take, and reduces the remaining cooldown of Shield Wall by 5 seconds. This gives you Shield Wall on a very, very short CD. I have seen 45 seconds to a minute in high-intensity combat, where I'm in my rotation properly, I'm managing my rage properly, and I'm also kind of hitting my Shield Slam procs and working things through. But this is an all-around great defensive talent and a great offensive talent for rage generation as well. And then we're going to go with Enduring Defensive, especially for beginners. Shield Block lasts 2 seconds longer. I know it sounds like a boring passive, but it is actually insanely good for Shield Block uptime and something you want to prioritize. Going down the left side of the tree, Thunderlord is making a return. Now, this is a severely nerfed version of what it was in the past, but it is still really, really good. Increases the radius of Demo Shout by 5 yards. Solid. Each enemy hit by Thunderclap reduces the remaining cooldown of Demo Shout by 1 second up to 3 seconds. So in AoE, every time you hit Thunderclap with 3 or more targets, you're immediately going to reduce 3 seconds off Demo Shout, and Demo Shout only has a 45-second cooldown to begin with. So it's very easy to get this to 20-25 second cooldown. All around solid pick. And then Show of Force is a great AoE option. Revenge increases the damage of Revenge, and Revenge increases the damage of your next Thunderclap by 20%. Thunderclap is back to hitting really, really hard, and Show of Force, returning as an upgraded version of the Conduit that it was, is an all-around solid pick for that. Now with this, we only have 1 point, so there's not a lot of flex in this build here. So what I would say is if you need an AoE kick, like AoE kick, we can have that now with Disrupting Shout. As a beginner, I would personally say get rid of Show of Force and go for Disrupting Shout. Taunts all enemies, again, within 14 yards instead of 10. Reduces the cooldown to 1.5 minutes instead of 2 minutes. And it kicks everything it touches, right? So everyone here that hears it, because it's a shout. All around really solid, and there's a few dungeons where this is an insanely good button to have. 1.5 minute cooldown, because wrangling casters as a tank can be pretty difficult, and Prot Warrior doesn't have a whole lot of has no movement displacing effects. So trying to get them all together can be challenging. Disrupting Shout can fix that problem for you. So with that, we're going to go with Show of Force, baseline, and then you have the choice between Heavy Repercussions and Into the Fray. As you get geared and your haste breakpoints get better, and you feel like you no longer need Into the Fray, Heavy Repercussions is going to be that play. Shield Slam generates 2 more rage and extends the duration of shield block. The problem is you want high haste. You want to be upwards to 27, 30, 33% haste where you can get it, and that's not going to be easy in Season 1 to be able to play Prot Warrior effectively and well, right? If you have 15 to 20% haste baseline, you're in trouble. You need higher haste than that, and Into the Fray is the best way to get that. You gain 2% haste for each enemy and ally within 10 yards, up to 10%. Easy 10% haste gain for 1 talent point, but as you get better geared, Heavy Repercussions is going to be the play there, but do note you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. And then we open up the capstone traits in the spec tree. All right, so we're going to bounce over to the class tree again. Armor to the Teeth, gain strength equal to 4% of your armor. The more eye level pieces you get, the more armor you get, the more strength you get. It is a self-feeding buff that's just wonderful. Then we're going to go with Avatar, 1.5 minute cooldown baseline, reduced by Anger Management, and Unstoppable Force. As a beginner, you might be opted into a movable object. Activating Avatar Shield Wall casts the other at reduced effectiveness. This means that whenever you cast Avatar, you're going to get a shield wall on you. This will not be the most optimal shield wall, but it isn't adding an extra layer defensive. So if for some reason you're still learning the rotation, you're feeling a little squishy, you could sacrifice some damage for a movable object, but Unstoppable Force is generally one of the best plays here, because it reduces while Avatar is active, it reduces the cooldown of Thunderclap by 50%. So it becomes a much more like Revenge, Thunderclap, Shield Slam, Thunderclap, Revenge, Thunderclap, like type of rotation. But every time you hit Thunderclap, you also reduce the cooldown of Demo Shout, giving you a lot more access to easier defenses as you're going along, while still burning and building rage, which they ignore pains and all that fun stuff, and Anger Management working towards shield wall CDR being cooldown reduction. So that is it there. Now, the next point we're going to put is in one-handed specialization. Damage with one-handed weapons and leech is increased by 5%. This is going to give us 10% leech baseline. No tertiary stats on gear, just 10% leech on baseline. This is insanely good and an easy talent point to take. Up next is where you need to think about where you want to play. There's 2 different styles. There's Team Shockwave, where you go with a full Shockwave build, and you put everything in there. Endurance Training Shockwave, Rumbling Earth, and Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom makes Shockwave a monster of a DPS ability. Rumbling Earth increases the range by 6 yards. And when you strike at least 3 targets, its cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds down to 25 seconds. And like I said, with Thunderlord, we're able to get Demo Shout down to an easy 20 to 25 second cooldown. And as we take points in Shield Specialization, easy passive, we go down to Booming Voice. Demo Shout generates 30 rage and increases all damage you deal to effective targets by 20%. So, hit Demo Shout, hit Shockwave, very big damage. I've been running the Shockwave build quite a bit in Mythic Plus as a more offensive-oriented and minded ability. And oh man, it did, like, there's in heavy AoE dungeons, Shockwave is easily my top damaging ability. You're not even hitting it for the stun. You don't want to hold it. You want to smash this to just deal stupid amounts of damage. There was one pull in Shadow Moon Burial. I think I peaked at 321k or something like that. Absolutely stupid how much damage this can do, but it doesn't offer a lot of defensive benefits. So one of the things that we can do here is come down to a 2 points in Wild Strike, which you're going to be putting in all of the time because you increase your haste by 2%, and your auto attack critical strike increases your auto attack speed by 20% for 10 seconds. So with this baseline, the 2 points in Wild Strikes, and the Furious Blows, you're going to have 25% auto attack speed increase on the Wild Strike procs, which is going to give you more Shield Slam procs. It's going to give you more lead. It's going to all feed into one another. So the 2 points here are actually insanely good, but you can go with a Thunderous Roar build. You can choose Uproar to have Thunderous Roar cooldown reduced by 30 seconds, or Thunderous Words. Thunderous Words is the better of the two options here. You can increase the duration of Thunderous Roar bleed effects by 2% and increases the damage of your bleed effects by 15% at all times. So this is Deep Wounds, this is Rend, this is Thunderous Roar. 3 bleeds, all around insanely solid and very defensive, because if you're adding another bleed into the mix, you're going to get more rage with Blood Surge, which means that you're going to get more spenders to be able to use on anger management cooldown, ignore pains, all of the fun stuff that you need to live and have fun and do damage. So this is the more defensive oriented class tree, but then as we go on, we're going to go with Focus Vigor in the spec tree, increases your strength and armor by 5%. We have Armor to the Teeth. More armor, more strength, feeds into one another. Nice synergies to be happening there. And then I always opt for Shield Charge. This is another stun, 45-second cooldown. This stuns the primary target for 4 seconds and also deals good AoE damage. We're going to be opting for some picks here, but I want to talk about Indom and Violent Outburst. First, Indomitable is one of the best talents in the Rage. Your maximum health is increased by 10%, and every 10 Rage you spend heals you for 1% of your maximum health. So hitting and Ignore Pain at 35 Rage, 3% max HP gain. Hitting Revenge with Barbaric Training, 3% max HP heal. On top of that, if you're hitting Revenge to get that back with Indomitable, you're also getting Leech off that. It's a self-sustain, which is insanely really good. Actually, Indom's always a default talent joint. Oh my god. Talent point. I just looked at the time. This is a 28-minute video so far. Holy crap. Violent Outburst. The tier set's coming back all around, insanely solid. Take it wherever you can, and then you have 3 points to kind of work into what you want. In Mythic Plus, Ravager, 1.5 minute cooldown, not 45 seconds anymore. Hits like a truck. Insanely good and generates rage. Battle-Scarred Veteran. This is one, so this is our kind of little pseudo-cheat death. When you go below 30% health, which for Prot Warrior does not happen very often, you gain an 80% damage reduction, and all healing received is increased by 100% on a 3-minute proc cooldown. At eye level 392, testing this in Mythic Plus, this would proc anywhere from 0 to 3 times per dungeon when I was playing correctly, like when I was doing everything that I could to play defensively and play well. So if you're over geared for content, you can easily take this point out. But if you're in any sort of challenging content, higher keys, whatever higher keys is for you, whatever more difficult raid than you've done before, easy point in a Battle-Scarred Veteran. It is a very good safety net. And then you have your choice between Battering Ram and Champion's Bulwark. So Champion's Bulwark, shield charge, deals more damage, grants you shield block, grants you revenge, a proc of revenge, and generates an additional 20 rage. All around, insanely solid ability for that. Or you can go with Battering Ram. I've been playing with both, and I'm having a hard time deciding what's better. I think Champion's Bulwark is going to be better on AoE, like on fortified weeks, but I actually do think that Battering Ram is going to be a better option for Tyrannical. So really with this, play around with either one of these two and take which one you want. I've been having a lot of fun with Battering Ram, but you could easily take Champion's Bulwark for easier shield block uptime. So the shield block that it gives you is a shorter duration. I think it's 4 to 6 seconds if I'm not mistaken. But being able to start a pull with shield charge and getting the reprisal effect from Shadowlands, which is a good effect. It just sucked to play around. All around really solid, but you could also go with Battering Ram if you so choose. Personally, I like Battering Ram a little bit better because if you're getting Wild Strikes and Battering Ram attack speed charge at the same time, especially in on Tyrannical bosses, you're getting a lot more Shield Slam procs, and the rage generation on that is really, really good, and it's all self-feeding. This is my beginner's guide. I hope you guys liked it. We're talking 30 minutes now. This is the loadout that I would suggest for a beginner to go in and play with, but Prot Warrior is one of those trees that has so many good things to choose and play around. There's a lot of buttons here that we're like a lot of talents here that we're not taking or really talking about that much. And there's a couple of reasons why. A lot of these I'll explain in my Patreon link. I have a living document on, when is the best time to take spell block, because it is a good ability to take, but it's more for challenging keys, higher end keys where every kick matters versus, a plus. If you're going into a +3 or 4, and let's say it's Halls of Atonement from Shadowlands, right, and you're getting spammed with Wicked Bolts, it's not going to hurt you anywhere near as much as if it's a +20, +25. But if you're in a +20, +25 in Dragonflight, this video, probably not really for you, right? So there's kind of things to look around and talk about there. But this is the base ability that we're going on. But if you want more detailed information about certain abilities, why I take certain things, or anything like that, Patreon link down below, where I explain all of this into great detail, written form. So with that, thank you very much, everybody. I am so excited for Dragonflight. Prot Warrior is going to be my main. I could talk about Prot Warrior for hours. By the end of this video, if you don't already know that, I don't know how to get that message across. Thank you very much for listening, and happy tanking, guys.